Kevin Hart is so tiny. How tiny was he? He's so tiny that if he were around during the slavery days, they wouldn't use a whip to tear through his black back. They'd use dental floss.
Like, what is it that you expect me? You want me to take a live production and stand up and fight Tony or have a reaction?
The backlash over those racist jokes at Kevin Hart's Netflix roast is still exploding all over social media, and now even more black comedians are stepping forward to call Kevin out publicly. If you haven't been keeping up with the drama, most of the controversy centered around jokes made by two comedians, Tony Hinchcliffe and Shane Gillis. The strongest reaction came from Hinchcliffe's joke about George Floyd. But what really set people off was how much Kevin appeared to laugh at the joke during the event. As you watch this unfold, remember that Kevin was among the public figures who attended George Floyd's memorial service in 2020, which is one reason many people online are questioning the situation and speaking out. As you can imagine, the people most affected by the joke and Kevin's reaction were members of George Floyd's own family. His brother, Terrence Floyd, and his uncle, Selwyn Jones, both spoke out publicly, saying they were stunned and disappointed after seeing Kevin laugh during that moment. Terrence explained that Kevin's attendance at George's memorial in 2020 made the reaction even harder for the family to understand. From their perspective, it felt like someone who had witnessed their grief was now laughing at a joke connected to that painful chapter.
You've done good though, Kevin. The black community is so proud of you. Right now, George Floyd is looking up at us all, laughing so hard that he can't breathe. God bless you, Kevin.
Terrence also said he believes Netflix and the show's producers had an opportunity to remove the joke before the special was released, but chose not to do so. But the controversy didn't stop there. Critics also pointed to several jokes from Shane Gillis that referenced painful parts of black history. One line mentioned Kevin's ancestors arriving in America on a slave ship in a bottle, and another referenced a lynching. Once again, many viewers focused on Kevin's reaction, noting how much he appeared to enjoy the jokes. At one point, he even stood up and shook Shane's hand, a moment that quickly sparked even more debate online.
To really understand Kevin's origins, you have to go back to the beginning. Kevin's ancestors came to America in a slave ship in a bottle. Kevin actually did really well in Saudi Arabia, but only because they thought he was the monkey from Aladdin. Kevin's so short that they're gonna have to lynch him from a bonsai tree.
That's what they do. It happens every year when they do a roast. It's not new. This isn't it's not a new agenda. It's not a new approach to comedy.
Do you feel like Tony Hinchcliffe went too far when he made that joke about George Floyd?
It's Tony Hinchcliffe.
Yeah.
I don't expect less. I don't expect more.
I feel like you're saying going too far is the point. I don't know if it words in your
Yes,
mouth,
I mean, that's why you're there.
But just when people thought the controversy had reached its peak, Kevin added even more attention to the situation. During an appearance on The Breakfast Club, he defended Tony Hinchcliffe and pushed back against the criticism. Kevin also argued that fans should move on, saying that, in his view, comedy shouldn't have off-limits topics, which only sparked even more debate online. After that interview, the criticism aimed at Kevin got even louder, and several comedians didn't hold back with their reactions. One of the most outspoken was D.L. Hewley, who took issue with Kevin's comments about not understanding what people expected him to do in that moment. D.L. specifically pushed back on Kevin's argument that he couldn't simply jump up and remove Tony from the stage, saying that response missed the point many critics were trying to make.
On The Breakfast Club, and he was talking about how, what was I supposed to do? Jump up and, Tom Brady did that, right? Tom Brady did that.
Like, what is it that you expect me? You want me to take a live production and stand up and fight Tony or have a reaction? If you are upset that the night went on, that's a different conversation. It's nothing I can do. It's a production. It's a live production. I'm not compromising.
But DL's argument was pretty straightforward. His point was that Kevin had options and could have taken some kind of action if he wanted to. According to DL, Kevin was aware of the material ahead of time and still allowed it to be part of the show. DL also pushed back on Kevin's claim that he couldn't physically stop Tony in the moment. To make his case, he pointed to Tom Brady's roast. where Brady famously interrupted Jeff Ross during a joke about Patriots owner Robert Kraft, showing that hosts and featured guests can step in when they feel a line has been crossed.
You cut a bunch of jokes that you thought would be offensive. You cut 18, he could have been the 19th one, that you knew what would happen. And the other thing is when he was on the Breakfast Club and he was talking about how, what was I supposed to do? Jump up and, Tom Brady did that, right? Tom Brady did that.
I love Robert Kraft. Okay. He's happy.
By the way, Jeff Ross later tried to play down that entire moment, saying Tom Brady was just having fun and that people were reading too much into it. But the conversation took another turn when Andrew Schultz claimed that Netflix had specifically instructed roasters to avoid jokes about Robert Kraft's 2019 legal controversy involving allegations connected to paid adult services. That revelation led many critics to argue that some topics are treated differently than others. Because of that, a lot of people started questioning Kevin's comments about there being no real limits in comedy. Critics argued that if certain subjects are discouraged or avoided behind the scenes, then there are clearly boundaries somewhere, even if those boundaries are not always publicly discussed. Others went even further, asking whether some forms of trauma receive more protection than others. They pointed to the jokes about Black history and Black suffering that sparked backlash and wondered where the line is actually drawn. Some critics also raised a broader question. If comedians made similarly controversial jokes about other major historical tragedies, would the reaction from audiences, performers, and streaming platforms be the same? That debate continues to fuel heated discussions online. According to many critics, if a similarly controversial joke had targeted certain other historical tragedies, the fallout would have been impossible to ignore. They argue there would likely be days or even weeks of public debate, statements from major figures, media coverage, and repeated demands for explanations from everyone involved. That's why some people have become frustrated with the argument that nothing is off limits in comedy. Their view is that there are clearly topics that receive different levels of protection and scrutiny. Because of that, they feel the conversation isn't really about whether limits exist, but about where those limits are drawn and who gets to decide them. And speaking of that debate, this situation brings to mind a point Denzel Washington made during an older interview that many people have been revisiting lately. Take a listen to what he said.
I got a part in a movie in 1986. I called it They Couldn't Kill. Oh. Yeah, he was supposed to be, he raped a white woman and they tried to electrocute him, but it didn't work. And he became sort of a cult hero. And then they tried to hang him and they tried to do all this stuff. And I had a lot of training day in me. And there were some Jewish people in the audition, and I said, yeah. They said, no, it's funny. It's like they hang them and then they can't. I said, yeah, like you bring some Jewish people into a room and they think it's a shower, but it's gas. Oh. And they said, right. I said, right. That ain't funny. Mm. So to me, it wasn't funny about putting a rope around my MFing neck either. I made a point. The guy was like, who the hell is this little nigga talking like this?
Many critics argue that the broader issue hasn't changed much over the years. They believe some forms of historical trauma are still treated differently in comedy, while other subjects can trigger immediate backlash and major consequences. That perception has become a big part of the debate surrounding this controversy. Now back to Kevin Hart. After his appearance on The Breakfast Club, some viewers were especially frustrated by his response. When Kevin asked, "What did you want me to do? Drag him off stage?" Critics argued that there were other ways he could have reacted without causing a scene. Their point was that he could have spoken up afterward, expressed disagreement, or simply avoided encouraging the joke through his reaction. Some people also compared Kevin's response to Regina Hall's, noting that she appeared far more reserved during several of the controversial moments. That comparison quickly spread online as viewers debated whether different reactions from people on stage carried different messages. What added even more fuel to the discussion was that Kevin didn't back away from his position afterward. Instead, he continued defending Tony Hinchcliffe and even suggested that Tony had one of the strongest sets of the night. For critics, those comments only intensified the backlash and kept the controversy in the spotlight.
I hate to say this, but I'm going to because we're being honest. People are talking about that joke. Talk about his set. Tony Hinchcliffe arguably had the best set
Now about all that industry plant talk. Supporters of that theory often point to comments Katt Williams has been making for years, long before this latest controversy. At the time, many people dismissed Katt's claims and argued that he was simply being critical of Kevin's rise to fame, but the discussion has continued to resurface whenever Kevin faces public backlash. For some context, one of the earliest periods when Katt publicly questioned Kevin's path to success was in the 2000s. Around that same time, Dave Chappelle sparked a major conversation about Hollywood and the pressure some entertainers say they face regarding certain roles and industry expectations. When Kevin was later asked about Dave's comments, he largely brushed the topic aside and laughed it off. He said that the situation Dave described had never happened to him personally. While Kevin did not completely rule out any specific type of role, he emphasized that he would never do anything he believed would damage his brand or go against the image he wanted to maintain as an entertainer.
I definitely haven't ran into to put on the dress. I mean, you know, you have to have boundaries. You have to have limits that you refuse to cross.
But then, less than a year later, Kevin appeared in an SNL sketch wearing a dress. And not long after that, his career reached an entirely new level. He landed major movie roles, headlined huge tours, and secured high-profile endorsement deals worth millions. Because of the timing, that moment has continued to be brought up by people discussing his rise in the entertainment industry. Of course, plenty of people see that as nothing more than a coincidence. They argue that Kevin's success came from years of hard work, talent, and relentless promotion rather than any larger industry pattern. Katt Williams, however, has long viewed the situation differently. When asked about Kevin's SNL appearance, Katt suggested that the conversation was bigger than any one person. In his view, it reflected what he believes are broader industry dynamics, with Kevin simply becoming one of the most visible examples people point to in that debate.
Kevin doesn't have to worry about what people are going to say about him wearing a dress because of the long line of dress wearing. Now I'm saying, why are we picking on poor little Kevin Hart? Because it was his turn next.
After the controversy surrounding that SNL sketch faded from the headlines, Kevin's career continued climbing at an incredible pace. His profile grew bigger year after year, with major film roles, business ventures, comedy tours, and endorsement deals helping cement his place as one of the most recognizable entertainers in the industry. Meanwhile, Katt Williams faced a very different public narrative. Over the years, he dealt with a number of legal issues and intense tabloid coverage. Many headlines focused heavily on his personal struggles, and the media often portrayed him in a negative light. Despite that, Katt continued speaking out about what he believed were unfair practices and favoritism within the entertainment business. In 2018, Katt once again turned his attention to Kevin, but this time, Tiffany Haddish also became part of the conversation. Katt argued that there were many talented black female comedians who, in his opinion, had not received the same opportunities. He questioned why certain performers rose to prominence while others remained overlooked, and his comments sparked a major debate across the comedy world. Those remarks drew a response from both Kevin and Tiffany during an appearance on The Breakfast Club. Kevin argued that Katt's career setbacks were connected to his own past controversies and personal challenges. Kevin also criticized Katt's claims about the industry and suggested that Katt had not done enough to support other comedians, a statement that quickly became another point of disagreement among fans and fellow performers.
My frustration with Katt Williams comes from, you keep pointing at Hollywood. Hollywood this, the white man, this, and this. When do you take responsibility for your action? You became a risk to the studios, which is why the studios stopped you.
Why was he a risk?
He chose you. Katt Williams, have you ever used your platform to bring the people that were under you up?
But Katt wasn't about to let those accusations go unanswered. Over the years, he has been very outspoken about how he wants certain claims about his personal life addressed, especially when it comes to allegations involving substance use. So after Kevin publicly criticized him on The Breakfast Club, Katt felt it was necessary to respond and give his side of the story, making it clear that he strongly disagreed with how he had been portrayed.
So while he wasn't there and off making 85 million, I was over here not making 85 million. But it's all good. I don't mind $1 million a month and keeping my soul. As long as Richard Pryor was able to get a comedy and a crackhead, they gonna continue to say maybe I am. But again, I urge you, if there's a drug you can do that'll get you Katt Williams level, then you should OD on it tonight.
But that still wasn't the end of the feud. Fast forward to 2025, and Katt turned up the criticism even more during public appearances and interviews. He doubled down on his long-running claims about Kevin's rise in the entertainment industry, calling him a textbook example of what he believes an industry plant looks like. Katt also drew comparisons to Jussie Smollett, a remark that quickly sparked fresh debate online.
In 15 years in Hollywood, no one in Hollywood has a memory of going to a sold-out Kevin Hart show, there being a line for him ever getting a standing ovation at any comedy club. He already had his deals when he got here. Have we heard of a comedian that came to LA and in his first year in LA, he had his own sitcom on network television and had his own movie called Soul Plane that he was leading? No, we've never heard of that before that person or since that person. What do you think a plant is? Maybe people don't understand the definitions of these words. He just did his documentary with Chris Rock where he shows you that his whole upbringing in comedy was on the East Coast.
Yeah, it was.
So how simultaneously was he here in Los Angeles doing the same thing? It didn't happen. It didn't happen. And I hate to seem like a petty individual for picking apart lies, but Jussie Smollett gonna keep lying until you say we don't believe.
According to Katt, there are powerful forces and influential decision makers within the entertainment industry who have a major impact on who gets opportunities and who rises to the highest levels of success. Over the years, he has used different terms to describe that idea, but his core argument has remained the same. He believes some performers benefit from industry support, while others face obstacles behind the scenes.
These people are not powerful. Satan can't create anything. That includes blessings for his people. That's why, do you know what the #1 job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is?
What?
It's to act like it didn't. It's a cabal. It's a consortium. They rock with who they rock with, and they.
When discussing Kevin, Katt has repeatedly suggested that Kevin is one of the people who has benefited from that system. Katt has also claimed that certain acting opportunities he wanted were ultimately given to Kevin instead. Among his allegations, he said disagreements over specific scenes and creative decisions played a role in some of those outcomes, though those claims remain matters of dispute and personal opinion.
For a 5-year period, every single movie that Kevin Hart did was a movie that had been on my desk, that all I had said was, just, can we take some of this step and fetch it shit out? And then I can do it. Like, it don't need to be overtly homosexual, because I'm not homosexual, right? It doesn't need that to be funny, right? And me saying that and them going, oh yeah, no problem. And then going to give it to this other guy and having him do it just like it was. And acting like I'm a bad person because I keep standing on my standard.
Since those public exchanges, Kevin and Katt have appeared to ease tensions, at least on the surface. Katt even took part in the roast, leading many fans to wonder whether the long-running feud had finally been put to rest. Still, some viewers felt there was an underlying tension during their interactions. They argued that when Katt spoke on stage, his comments seemed more serious than playful at times. To those viewers, it felt less like a typical roast performance and more like Katt using the moment to express opinions he has been holding for years while speaking directly to Kevin. At the end of the day, many people argue that this debate comes down to character and personal values more than anything else. You don't have to believe in industry theories or behind-the-scenes conspiracies to form an opinion about how public figures handle controversial moments. For some critics, Kevin's actions and public responses are enough to shape their view of him.
Kevin and I have beef, and I'll tell you why. Because privately, this motherfucker stole everything from me. They tried to cancel Kevin for the Diddy parties. They hurled allegations at him. But thanks to all the baby oil, the charges didn't stick. Kevin was at a bunch of Diddy parties, but in his defense, it was only because Diddy thought he was 10. But I want to be clear. Just because Kevin went to Diddy parties does not mean he did something wrong. The fact that he gets all quiet when you bring it up, that means he did something wrong.
Others also point to Kevin's business partnerships and endorsements when discussing whether major celebrities have a responsibility to take stronger public stances on certain issues. Supporters and critics alike continue to debate where that responsibility begins and ends. The larger conversation may be about celebrity culture itself. Why do some public figures maintain such loyal support even during controversies? And why do audiences continue investing so much attention, money, and energy into them? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like the video and subscribe to Melanin Perspective to stay tuned for the next video.